Hello, everyone. Welcome. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us for this session. So, Braden here is going to be talking about how we are helping and talking about defending against nation-state level attacks within the enterprise. So, it's going to be a very informative and useful session. I'm sure you'll agree at the end of it. We are going to do Q&A as well. So, if you do have questions, bank them at the end of the session. We'll either come around with the microphone or you can shout and we'll do our best to answer them. So, yeah, round of applause, please, for Braden.
All right, look at that. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Defending Against Nation-State Level Threats in the Enterprise. How are we doing today? Oh, yes, thank you. A little bit of excitement. I mean, it's a lovely Tuesday. We're all very lucky to be here. My name is Braden Newell. I'm a learning experience designer, focused primarily on security here at Jamf. And supposed to be with me here today was supposed to be a co-presenter, Tal Sella, the product manager of Jamf Executive Threat Protection. Unfortunately, Tal's flight got canceled from Tel Aviv, so he wasn't able to join us. But I am thrilled to be here for the both of us. My second time on the JNUC stage, and fortunately, we still have some expertise to help us after to answer the Q&A. So who here has heard of the NSO group? Just a quick show of hands. Who here? Good portion of the room, but not everyone. Good portion. So that's great to see, or maybe not so. If you're unfamiliar, the NSO Group is an Israeli technology company specializing in cyber intelligence and surveillance solutions. Founded in 2010, NSO Group's products are primarily used by government agencies globally to assist with investigations, most often around terrorism and crime. Pegasus is NSO's flagship product. It's a highly sophisticated piece of spyware designed to infiltrate mobile devices and covertly collect intelligence through tools like real-time monitoring. It's impressive stuff when it's in the right hands. Unfortunately, as you may have heard, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. When tools like Pegasus are leveraged by the wrong actors, it can be incredibly dangerous. For a long time, as far as we knew, Pegasus was sold exclusively to good people, governments that are trying to spy on the bad guys. However, after a series of high-profile investigations, it became revealed that despite these promises of only being sold to the good guys and being used for lawful purposes, it in fact was actually being used to target journalists, human rights activists, business leaders, political dissidents, and politicians, among many others across numerous countries. Pegasus is just a single example of how incredibly sophisticated advanced persistent threats deployed by nation states can compromise a person's privacy and security. This is equally true for businesses whose executives carry devices with sensitive corporate data that could be of interest to foreign actors, competitors, or governments. In fact, I hear there might be a competitor outside that would love to hear what's going on in here. I'm glad that got a chuckle. That was some little ad-lib there. For the sake of clarity, we'll be defining nation-state level threats as sophisticated cyber attacks orchestrated by a government or a government-sponsored group with the aim of achieving a political, economic, or military objective. Nation-state level threats are characterized by their advanced techniques and resources. This is a scale that is incredibly difficult for individuals or groups of people to match. Now, NSO's Pegasus is a type of advanced persistent threat, or APT, as I might be referring to as. An advanced persistent threat is a highly sophisticated cyber attack designed to be stealthy, persistent, and focused on remaining undetected on device for extended periods, sometimes months or even years. Think of this type of cyber attack focused on the long-term game. The type of advanced persistent threats we're focusing on today, however, are those which target mobile devices, which we'll be calling advanced mobile threats. If you're wondering, well, what makes a threat advanced, Braden? Well, that's OK, because we're going to start by dividing these threats into common and advanced threats. Common mobile threats are most often caught by an MTD, or Mobile Threat Defense application. A great example of this is Jamf Protect. MTDs help to protect devices against the majority of cyber attacks. These can include common malware, malicious apps, phishing attacks, network attacks, and privilege escalation to some degree. Now, most malware falls under the category of common malware. Common malware is malicious software designed to disrupt, damage, or gain unauthorized access to computer systems, mobile devices like we're focused on today, or networks. It aims to spread widely, operates automatically, and typically seeks some sort of financial gain. I'm sure some of us in this room have, unfortunately, had to deal with users who maybe got some common malware on their device. Great way to spend your Friday. Now, malicious apps is a subcategory of malware. These are Trojan applications designed to disguise themselves as legitimate apps to deceive users while still conducting some malicious purpose. Next, I'm very confident we probably are all aware of phishing at this point. This technique is a subcategory of social engineering. This social engineering is the most effective form of hacking. Forgive me. As we actually talked about during the keynote this morning, right? 90% of cyber attacks are primarily caused because of user error. After all, it's much easier for the bad actors to manipulate individuals, to reveal confidential information, or perform actions that compromise security, rather than to find an exploit or software vulnerabilities. Phishing specifically is the easiest and most effective form of social engineering, which makes it one of the most common cyber attacks. Now, there are many forms of phishing. Some common examples include spear phishing, whaling, and smishing. Network attacks on mobile devices, such as man-in-the-middle or MITM attacks, involve intercepting and potentially altering communications between the mobile device and the internet. For example, you might log into a Wi-Fi network in a cafe, airport, or hotel lobby and browse the web as you usually do. It turns out that that network has in fact been compromised by an attacker who uses it to steal important information like credit card details or passwords. And lastly, you might have heard of the term rooting on Android or jailbreak on iOS. Those are terms that describe privilege escalation. Now, privilege escalation occurs when an attacker gains elevated access to the device's system and data beyond what's normally permitted. I'm sure we all know how much Apple does not like releasing control. This can happen through exploiting software vulnerabilities, misconfigurations, or weaknesses in the operating system or the application. Now, MTDs detect rooting and jailbreaks to some extent, generally speaking. Advanced mobile threats, on the other hand, they're much harder to detect. To start, they're zero-day vulnerabilities. Now, these vulnerabilities aren't the advanced mobile threat themselves. No. Vulnerabilities are security flaws found in software that are unknown to the vendor or public. These vulnerabilities are called zero-day because developers have had 0 days, really creative naming there, to find the flaw and fix it before it can be exploited. Advanced malware varies in their use of 0 days, as both the bad guys and the good guys tend to try to offer large sums of money to learn about them in order to exploit them, and they generally don't want public information out there. For the bad guys, they don't want public information out there because they want to have like a competitive advantage, right? They want to charge a lot of money for being able to use that 0 day. The good guys, Apple for example, well, they don't want the bad guys to know about the 0 days because they want to patch it as quickly as possible, and if no one knows about it, well, it can't be exploited. What's important to remember is that knowing of a 0 day is not necessarily enough to initiate an attack. To initiate an attack, that 0 day needs to be exploited. Exploitations, or exploits, involve attackers taking advantage of the vulnerabilities in the device's software or hardware to gain unauthorized access, control, or to cause damage to that device. While vulnerabilities are holes or gaps in a device's security, exploits is the actioning of those vulnerabilities to do something the manufacturer didn't intend for. Now, these exploits may come in the form of a 1 or 0 day click attack. 1 or 0 click attacks exploit vulnerabilities on a device's hardware or software to infect the device with malware with little to no user interaction. It's kind of the things cybersecurity nightmares are made out of. 1 click attacks require the user to perform a minimal action, such as clicking a link, to initiate the compromise of a mobile device. Meanwhile, zero-click attacks are even scarier. They require no user interaction, so the targets may not even realize they've been attacked. The lack of evidence for zero-click attacks is what makes them so challenging to find. Advanced persistent threats, thing that we're focusing mostly on today, are the sophisticated, prolonged cyber attacks that use one or zero-click attacks with the aim of gaining continuous and stealthy access to sensitive information. We'll see an example of that in a moment. Here's a video of an example of an advanced persistent threat, making it appear that a device is rebooting while still allowing the attacker to access a continuous feed of the device's camera and microphone. Let's take a look. That's pretty scary stuff. And thank you for no one dropping a pen, because we definitely would have heard that. And that brings us back to the nation-state level threats that we're focusing on today, which refer to the sophisticated cyber attacks orchestrated by government-sponsored groups. These aim to achieve political, economic, or military objectives and are characterized by their advanced techniques and resources, such as their use of advanced persistent threats. Going back to the Pegasus by the NSO group that I mentioned earlier, there's a pretty famous story out there about Jeff Bezos, right, former CEO of Amazon, finding Pegasus on his smartphone after allegedly sending his device for forensic investigation following details of his affair being leaked. It's very possible that if those articles were not published about his affair, he would have never known that his device was infected with Pegasus. Now, I'd like to emphasize here that there are levels to this game called security, right? The most sophisticated actors have knowledge of zero-day and zero-click exploits, which can be leveraged across operating system, across the latest version of operating system, and on the newest devices, right? Hacking groups use these resources, often see their products used by nation-states to conduct sophisticated surveillance. The less sophisticated actors, well, they might use and exploit vulnerabilities across older operating system versions and older device models. These hackers are more likely to break into organizational devices for the sake of personal gain rather than to achieve a greater objective. So you can see there's a pretty wide chasm of kind of the goals of these different types of attackers. And while many organizations are well suited to deal with these less sophisticated actors as they deploy, right, the mobile threat defense solutions to their devices, they're far less available to deal with these advanced threats. As a result, the solutions that companies and organizations use to address these advanced level threats, targeting corporate executives, journalists, politicians, or employees traveling to high-risk areas, may be susceptible to corporate or nation-state espionage. They haven't come up with these great solutions to dealing with this level of sophistication. For example, tools like mobile device management, something that we all use every single day, is something we can all agree is the cornerstone to an organization's overall security strategy. Still, it doesn't make for a great threat detection tool, right? MDM only enforces settings to improve an organization's security posture. It doesn't prevent or detect threats. MDM brings a lot of value to an organization's overall security strategy, very similar to how an MTD might, but it's not enough alone to defend against nation-state level attacks or advanced mobile threats. So for solutions where MDM is enough, some organizations have the option of giving an executive or journalist, politician, or traveling employee what I'm going to kindly call a burner phone. But think of it, it's just a temporary device. Now, some organizations require these traveling employees that are going to high-risk countries leave their primary work device behind and instead take with them this temporary burner phone. When the employee returns, IT takes back that temporary device, and best case scenario, they securely erase it. Worst case scenario, they probably recycle it. That really all depends on the organization's risk profile. The frustrating part with temporary devices is that the employee doesn't have access to company resources while they're traveling, resulting in a really poor user experience. We don't like that. In contrast, if users had a device where they could access company resources while traveling in these high-risk countries, if the attacker did get access to the device, well, look at that. The attacker also gets access to the same company resources and internal networks. As a result, burner phones make for an expensive, wasteful, and poor user experience solution. Lastly, what about lockdown mode? Well, Apple released lockdown mode as a special protective mode about 2 years ago to help harden iOS, iPadOS, and macOS devices from sophisticated cyber attacks. We love that Apple's getting involved to help secure users. And while lockdown mode is impressive, it also changes the user experience and still doesn't provide any information or telemetry on the device's security posture, meaning that we still have no idea if devices were infected or have even been attacked. Here's an interesting follow-up video for you. This is a Jamf Threat Labs video showcasing the difference between a fake lockdown mode created by an advanced mobile threat and the real one built by Apple. Just take a look. So on the right, we have a phone that the user is activating lockdown mode, or think they are. So they check, lockdown mode is enabled, or at least it appears to be. And yet, it doesn't actually detect, actually, in this case, the browser doesn't detect that lockdown mode is enabled. In contrast, the device with real lockdown mode detects that lockdown mode is enabled. And the PDF is prevented from loading in the browser. Cool. So if MDM, burner phones, and lockdown mode aren't the best solutions, what is? What we need is a product designed specifically to collect device telemetry to provide to IT teams, folks like yourself, with the information and intelligence that we need to detect these advanced mobile threats. Now, if you're interested in experimenting in this space, you might want to try some free tools. So you have Hexadora, Kaspersky's iShutdown, and Amnesty International's Security Lab with MVT. These free tools and solutions are fantastic for folks that are looking to experiment in this field. Looking to play around, try something out. Maybe you want to enroll a device or two and see what the experience is like manually. It's a great opportunity to explore and learn. The challenge with free tools is that they aren't easily scalable. They can be complicated, and they may not actually work. The bad guys might learn to evade them. As a result, you might want to consider a paid app. So options include NumberStation, iVerify, and Dataflow. In fact, it's really great to see other companies wanting to try to find these advanced attacks, because that means there's a greater interest and awareness in this space, which is better for all of us at the end of the day. However, when deciding on a solution to help you defend against nation-state attacks, advanced persistent threats, and advanced mobile threats, there are 3 things we want to ensure it has. First, we want it to be privacy friendly. Not only do we want our corporate data to be well protected, we want users to feel comfortable using their devices. We want what happens on the device to stay on the device. Second, we need it to be useful. The solution actually needs to do what it says it does and to provide valuable security information for finding and addressing these nation-state level threats. Third, it needs to be simple. None of us have time for overly complex and difficult solutions. We need something that's easy to deploy, simple to manage, and invisible to our users. Fortunately, and you probably all knew this was coming after all you're at JNUC, there's Jamf Executive Threat Protection, an advanced detection and response solution designed for iOS, Android, and iPadOS devices. And in our opinion, it checks off all three of those boxes for being privacy-friendly, useful, and simple. It's designed to identify sophisticated digital threats and provide visibility into attacks that target high-value users, such as government officials, journalists, and corporate executives. To monitor your iOS or Android device and perform continuous automated forensic investigation scans, you deploy the Threat Protect app to your devices. Here's a quick video to show you what it looks like from the user's perspective. Keep in mind, it is sped up for the sake of brevity. You can see here that it gathers vital intelligence on the device, like system logs, kernel logs, certificates, crash reports, and software on the device to help determine if it might have been compromised. Each of those pieces of data could be an indicator of compromise, or IOC, which helps IT administrators and cybersecurity teams identify if a device has been compromised and how that compromise might have occurred. Alternatively, you can use the Threat Protect app that you or your colleague can perform a more in-depth scan using our Mac or Windows app. This app can even be deployed to your users' computers to empower them to collect the telemetry for you. Now, the collected data is reported back to your Jamf Executive Threat Protection portal automatically. Once a device is connected to a Mac or Windows computer, the inspector app installed, with the inspector app installed, this is what the desktop app looks like. And again, it's spread up for the sake of brevity, where once again, it's collecting the vital intelligence. And once it's done, it's going to be fed back to our Jamf Executive Threat Prevention portal. Now, we here at Jamf have the goal of making Jamf Executive Threat Protection as easy as possible to deploy. And I cannot stress to you how hard Tal, who is very, very disappointed he couldn't be here with us, and his team are working to do this. What you see here is a preview of a new deployment wizard that we're excited to be introducing by the end of 2024. The release of this new deployment wizard will allow you to create configuration profiles for Jamf Executive Threat Protection and deploy it with your MDM of choice, including Jamf Pro, of course. We are applying the concept of learned behavior, meaning that we're implementing the same wizard across features inside of Jamf Executive Threat Protection, as well as in other Jamf products like Jamf Pro and the Jamf Security Cloud portal to make it easier for each of you. Now, I'm sure that many of you already deploy Jamf Protect or another mobile threat defense product to your mobile fleet, and that's amazing. We really want to stress that Jamf Executive Threat Protection doesn't replace tools like Jamf Protect. In fact, hopefully, what we've learned so far is that they're actually complementary. They're able to work together on one device to secure organizations' devices from a variety of digital threats. While Jamf Protect is the security guard, catching more obvious and better known threats and serving as a deterrent at the same time, Jamf Executive Threat Protection is more like an undercover agent watching for those more obscure and better hidden threats. It provides real-time threat monitoring beyond traditional device management and endpoint security by offering an efficient, remote method for organizations to monitor devices and respond to advanced attacks, reducing investigation periods from weeks to minutes. Now, in addition to deploying a mobile threat defense solution like Jamf Protect, along with an advanced detection solution like Jamf Executive Threat Protection, here are a few reasonable steps you and your organization can take, if you haven't already, to help secure your devices against malicious attacks. First up, having robust access controls is a huge one. To start, I like to recommend leveraging an identity provider, or IDP, like Google or Microsoft, and rolling out single sign-on. Using SSO across your organization and to as many apps as possible. This makes it not only easier for users to access their various corporate resources, but that also means that if an account gets compromised, you only have to lock down one versus many, and you can enforce a consistent password and two-factor authentication policy across your organization, which we love. Access control programs are also about limiting access to users who just need access to specific systems. Gone are the days where we give everyone admin access. By doing so, attackers have far less reach into company resources like they might have once had. If they gain access to a specific user account, well, they may not have the same reach that they once did, or once could have had. Instead, giving every user admin to every app and restricting access based on job type and need. Second, implement zero trust security model that never assumes a user or device is trustworthy by default. Zero trust helps protect against insider threats and compromised credentials. At Jamf, we have zero trust network access to help you do this as part of our Jamf Connect product, helping customers secure access to corporate applications. And lastly, well, there's education, education, education. We all know that you and your users are busy people. Cybersecurity training can also be dull and repetitive. Trust me, I know. But good, informative, and perhaps most importantly, engaging security training can help combat the most common attack vectors used by nation-state actors, like phishing and social engineering that target employees. Now, Jamf has been doing device management for over 20 years now. It's a long time. Trusted by over 75,000 customers with over 32 million devices under management. It's really impressive. We've also been securing devices since 2019 too. And now we're powering Jamf Executive Threat Protection with the incredible work being done by Jamf Threat Labs, ensuring our products are leveraging industry-leading data and research. There's never been a better time to leverage Jamf to help your organizations, to help meet your organization's security needs. So with that said, I want to thank you all so much for taking the time to join our session today. And as we close out, the intention was to have Tal here to help answer our Q&A questions. But fortunately, in his place, I want to welcome back up our session host, Adam, to help answer any questions you might still have.
On my way.
Adam's taking his draw. So what we'll do, folks, is if you do have any questions, I suppose raise your hand, and I'll try to repeat the question, and Adam will do his best to see what we can do.
Yeah, we'll try out, or I can come to you if you prefer not to shout. I am trying to hit my step count for the day, so yeah, I'm not just the session host. Obviously, I work for Jamf. I am based out of based in our EMEA team. I was the subject matter expert when Jamf acquired ZecOps, which was the company that this technology is obviously a lot of it's come from there. So hopefully we'll be able to answer some, if not all of these questions. I know Tal has also said he's happy to answer questions after
Absolutely.
this session, so if anyone has that. But yeah, first question. I saw a hand.
We'll start with you in the black shirt up here. So the question was the first video that we showed, was that a jailbroken device or not? Do you know where that?
Yeah, so that device, well, I don't believe it was jailbroken, but it wasn't on the latest version of operating system. So it was a couple of versions back. But yeah, it wasn't sort of tampered with in that way. It was just an older version of operating system. There's actually there's a blog post which has a really detailed write-up of that exact simulation. So yeah, just search within the Jamf Threat Labs blog page for that particular one. It's all detailed there.
Awesome. Yes, you in the gray shirt. Yeah. So is the Jamf Executive Threat Protection Portal cloud only, or is it also available on-prem?
It's also available on-prem. So yeah, Jamf Executive Threat Protection is both available to be deployed in the cloud or on-prem. We have a lot of customers, especially where I am in Europe, who are sort of heavily invested in that on-prem infrastructure. So yeah, that is an option. Regarding FedRAMP certification, it's something I believe we are working on, but I don't want to commit to sort of when and how that will be achieved. But yeah, on-prem is an option.
Awesome. Yes. Sorry, the question was on reputation?
Remediation.
Oh, remediation. So the question was, is there remediation similar to Jamf Protect in a Jamf Executive Threat Protection?
So yeah, that is actually something, I don't know if, maybe show of hands, is anyone here using the tool or seen it? Okay, that's fine. Yeah, one at the end. So for those that are using the tool, you may have noticed there's been some features that have been added recently that are sort of gearing us to go down that remediation route. So when you deploy Jamf Executive Threat Protection, as Braden said, you have the option to do an agentless deployment where you just plug a device in via a physical cable that performs the scan and gives you the analysis. We do also have an app-based deployment, so where you've deployed the application that allows you to do on-demand scanning. With that app-based deployment, we're also introducing functionality such as being able to do a device reboot, removing profiles, or removing applications from the device. So that should in itself do some of that remediation effort, and you can start to then automate that. What I find in my experience is customers prefer to have a little bit of a manual intervention before the remediation takes place. So if Jamf Executive Threat Protection is telling you this device has been compromised, we give you a load of data to explain why that device has been compromised, but customers often prefer to see what that compromise is, what the impact is, before completely wiping a device or removing it from an individual's phone. So yes, remediation options are there. How automated they are, that is something we're working on.
Awesome. Anyone else?
I think that follow-up question? Oh.
So I guess to recap that question, what, if any, overlap is there between Jamf Protect and Jamf Executive Threat Protection?
That is an amazing question for me personally. I'm actually I'm presenting a session this Thursday where I talk exactly about that.
Hint, hint, nudge, nudge.
Yeah, so I'll give you a short answer now, and then on Thursday, 9 a.m., join me for that session where we talk about how Protect and Jamf Executive Protection can be used in conjunction. The way I best answer that is if I give you an analogy, right? So imagine your mobile device like your home, okay? So from a security point of view, with my house, I've got locks on my front door, I've got a fence around the house, I've actually got a dog who I say acts as a guard dog, but he's just a big Labrador who will lick anyone to death who comes in. But so those are techniques I'm using to prevent an attacker from coming onto my device, into my house. And that's what Jamf Protect is doing to your mobile device. It's designed to prevent an attack from happening. However, if we go back to the house analogy, if I've got, maybe I've got expensive art collection or a watch collection, maybe I also install some alarm system inside my house. Maybe even if I've got the money, I'll put like really cool laser beams and stuff like that. That is to tell me someone has got onto my house, where they've come from and what they're doing whilst on there. That is what Jamf Executive Threat Protection is doing. It's more of a detection and analysis tool. So, and for your everyday user, maybe like they don't necessarily need the alarm system, maybe they just need a lock on the front door. But for certain individuals who have expensive art collections or a lot of sensitive data accessible through their mobile device, they need a lock on the front door, but they also need some kind of alarm system, because if I'm a highly sophisticated cyber criminal gang or a nation state, I'm not going to be put off by a lock on the door, a fence, and a dog. I'll just tunnel in underground your house or abseil in through the roof. I'll find a way onto there, and same way they can find a way onto the device. So that is kind of the best way to put it in terms of why you need both. There's a small amount of overlap, but one is preventative, one is detection.
Anyone else? I think we're good.
Cool.
Wonderful. Thank you all so much.
And round of applause, please, for Braden.
And for Adam.
Okay, so hopefully you've got the JNUC app on your device, so you see your agenda in terms of where you're meant to be next. We'll be here for questions. We also have special guests. You might have seen him in the keynote, Matt Taylor. If anyone wants a question to Matt, I've just spotted him there, then please do grab us while you can. Thank you, everyone.